can't say that they meant that they were referring to him supposedly having quote unquote impenetrable rhetoric. It could just mean that
Okay.
they're referring to him having a superlative form of regard in comparison to other debaters in the
Okay.
community.
Well, I mean, yeah. If that's the case, then like I agree with like Apollo's argument.
Told you. Exactly.
Right. And
Definitely.
wait. And what I was saying, G2, is if he's saying, right, that, oh, okay, he, those people, we don't know what their interpretation, that's fine. Because I'm just speaking to the people who are saying that in all cases, right, in all cases, his rhetoric is impenetrable, G2. I'm speaking to those people.
Well,
so if you could clarify Apollo's stance for me.
We're talking about that to begin with.
I'm sorry if I like missed something before.
Hold on, let you two finish.
But yeah, I'm sorry if I missed something before I entered the VC. But where does this like whole people that say he has like a penetrable rhetoric all over? Where does that come from, or are you just saying that people say
from his interpretation?
Originally, right? Earlier, I was talking to what's his name? Originally, I was saying this. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying go on because there's a nigga in the background. I could hear you perfect. So
yeah. All I was saying is that earlier I was talking to Aristotle about this in chat, and I'm assuming that Apollo didn't get the full comp. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's deafened. Oh wait. My ass itches. Apollo, I don't care if he agrees with your point or not. I don't care.
All right, I'm back.
Okay. So basically, oh yeah, for sure. So earlier, right, I was talking to like Aristotle about this, and I was just saying, because like I made a comment on like Seth's rhetoric, and I was just like, some people who like consider his rhetoric like impenetrable, like just like full hardcore goons, like I think his rhetoric can be penetrated like sometimes, etc., etc. And like I don't think he's as good as certain people hype him up to be. And by those people, I was just referring to like, people who think his rhetoric is impenetrable in all instances. That's who I was referring to. I was disagreeing with those people. And I was talking to Aristotle about that because he went into a little war about like my stance because he was misinterpreting me at first. And I was just like, I'm not saying like, he's bad by any means. I'm just saying I don't think he's as good as certain people hype him up to be. And I use the noodles analogy or instance to where his rhetoric was penetrated in one type of way, right? And he was just like, oh, okay. And then Apollo jumped in, me thinking he fully interpreted my point. So I was just like, okay. So I start arguing with him about it. But I think Apollo misinterpreted my point because I'm not seeing how he could be winning. Like, Jutsu, if you could care to explain, like, not to like debate Goonie or anything, I just don't understand his point fully.
But I just think you guys just arguing and just arguing is pointless. Like there's like like opposing. There's nothing like being opposed here. Like I think Archie is saying what he's basing this off of is that.
No, I understand Archie's argument perfectly. Like I understand.
Then what's the point of continuing to argue with him about it? Because
I can understand an argument. Hold on. Just so you can understand an argument to the fullest degree, but still have some disagreements with the argument. Okay, so I'll just explain my view. Let me explain. Okay. So, firstly, I don't recall him mentioning that. He mentioned to Aristotle that he was just referring to solely to people calling him someone who has impenetrable rhetoric. What I recall, right? He can show me later on or whatever. What I recall him saying is that he disagreed with people calling him a dark god, and then he derived his interpretation from this terminology and say that okay, because they call him a dark god, then they'll be implicitly asserting that he has impenetrable rhetoric, right? And he disagrees with him having impenetrable rhetoric. He took impenetrable rhetoric to the literal sense, whereas his rhetoric is impenetrable in all senses, right? Then he's providing an example to debunk him having the literal impenetrable rhetoric, right? So there are two flaws with this. For one, he's assuming that when they call him a dark god, they're referring to him having impenetrable rhetoric rather than him just having better rhetoric than majority than everyone in the community. Number two, he's also assuming that even if they were to say he has impenetrable rhetoric, he's also assuming they're referring to all senses of rhetoric rather than just in strictly in formal debates, formal civil debates. He's also assuming that too.
Okay.
So there are two assumptions that he's making, which he can never justify. He's just trapped. He can't justify this or establish any semantic correlation between his interpretation and these two interpretations that they would have to be making for them to even
I agree with that. I agree with that. Like under the assumption that what Archie was trying to argue with whatever he was saying to Aristotle with was like that the fuck what was I about to say? Was that him being like or my bad, or the people saying that he's like has like godlike rhetoric, and he's saying that they can't say that because he got like fucking what was I talking about? Him getting packed by news or something?
Yeah, I was just saying like, and by godlike rhetoric, I just meant like impenetrable rhetoric, and by that I was just saying that like if his rhetoric is like perfectly okay in all instances, or not even okay, but just perfect in all instances. And in this rhetorical situation, by the way, which you agreed to earlier that pack off was a rhetorical situation. And rhetorical situations is just when you're arguing about rhetoric or whatever, and arguing and like using persuasion. If his rhetoric was penetrated in this instance, then he doesn't have impenetrable rhetoric.
Okay, and yeah, I still agree with Apollo. I'm not gonna lie, because I think what Apollo is saying in contention of that is regardless of what, that's still assuming that the people that say that like he has fucking godlike rhetoric in all aspects or whatever you said, that assumes that they're referring to things outside of debating.
Exactly.
Well, I was just referring to the people who are referring to that.
It's also assuming that they're taking.
Wait! I want to expand a little bit more. Wait, Apollo, hold on. GTA, I was just referring to. That's why I kept saying like I'm referring to the people who are referring to that in all instances, even outside of debating. He's saying that I'm presupposing that those are what those people are, yet he's saying that he's agnostic on what those people are saying. So if he's going to say that those people are not referring to that, hold on, I'm not done. So if he's going to say that those people are not referring to that, then if that's the case, then he can't be agnostic on it. Especially when I'm the one who's
I'm just saying we don't know.
Hold on, please.
And since you're making this
hold on, please. Wait, I'm not done. Hold on, please. Like, for example, I'm the one who encountered these people. Like, for example, the other day, I met this man named Wee Porky, right? D plus. He said, I think Seth has impenetrable rhetoric in all cases, all scenarios, even outside of debating. And I said to him, well, his rhetoric has been penetrated this one rhetorical situation, so this can't be the case, right? Those type of people are the people I'm referring to. I'm not referring to people who say, oh, in debating his rhetoric is impenetrable. I'm referring to people who are saying in all rhetorical situations.
Okay, so even if that was what you were referring to in that context, you need to establish why that's the case in this context, firstly. And secondly, I'm not saying verbatim that this is not what they're saying. I'm just saying that you can never make this claim or disagree with their usage of this word if you can't determine what they actually mean when they say rhetoric of God. So I'm not explicitly disagree with you. I'm just disagreeing with the notion that you're affirming this as the case, despite it being based on some sort of foundation which you can never actually justify, considering a lack of knowledge. You can't know what they actually meant when they use this word. You can't know of their intentions when they say this. So you can never determine what they meant when they use this. And even if you were to derive a fair interpretation of this usage of the word, you still need to establish a semantical correlation between your interpretation and their intention of using the word.
What did you say?
Oh, my bad. Like, I just, like, zoned out because arguing with this fat retard in chat who got my name in his mouth like a fucking weirdo. No friends.
Mother stinks.
Who said that?
That was him.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, bro. You gotta be the biggest dick licker known to man, because niggas ain't even say nothing. I don't even know these first Yeah, you're British. I'm not gonna lie, you're British.
Hey, don't serve me, you fucking retard.
Yeah, and he's a bitch too. Fuck your dead man's faggot. Fuck.
Yeah.
Anyways, my bad. What were you saying, Archie?
Alright, so yeah, I was just saying.
Faggot.
Matter of fact, how did he even server mute? I think it's his role. You know, I just stripped it, but
he want attention so bad.
But anyways, I was just saying, like, for instance, like I'm just talking about the people that I personally argued with. For example, like B Porky. Even at one point, like, granted, he was trolling about this, which I didn't know, but I was even arguing with people like what's called Taco and them about it, because I was just saying, like, people who have impenetrable rhetoric in all instances, you're just saying their rhetoric can't get penetrated. So if Seth has impenetrable rhetoric in all instances, right? And by all instances, I'm referring to, like, I've been outside of debating, and possibly, right? I'm assuming that's what they are referring to because they continue to argue along the lines of that, right? Even outside debating, this impenetrable rhetoric. And I'm referring to those people who say that, and I'm disagreeing with those people who say that. That's what I was saying. So when he says that, like, wait, hold on. So when he says that, like, oh, well, if, you know, you're presupposing that's what those people are referring to, well, I'm not, because that's what they said. And I'm the one who's like talk to them, not you.
Okay, so firstly,
I'd like to hear Jutsu's response.
Okay.
You might be AFK, so you have to wait.
I'm right to hear it. I'm just doing work right now, but I mean, again, like, I just don't think there's, like, any reason to argue, but, like, you know.
Yeah, neither do I. I was saying, like, if he disagrees with what I'm saying, then attack. But from what I'm getting from here, and from this, his only, like, contention is that I'm presupposing what they mean. But if, like, explain why that's not the case. And, like, he's choosing to say...
Hold on, wait. Apollo. When you say he's presupposing what they mean, are you saying he's presupposing what they mean by all instances, like, or my bad? Are you saying that he's presupposing what they mean by him being a rhetorical god outside of debating?
Yes, and he's also presupposing that when they call him or say that he is impenetrable rhetoric, they're referring to it in all senses, which includes, like, all forms of conversation rather than just one specific form of dialogue, which is like a formal debate. Because his example was him using a supposed spark off between him and Nudus, and he says that, okay, Nudus was supposedly more persuasive, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I still meant that. And I said, even if Nudus was supposedly more persuasive in this rhetorical situation, this doesn't extrapolate to him having better dark or whatever, because this could just mean that in this specific form of conversation, Nudus is more persuasive than Seth. He's a better packer than Seth. But in Seth's usual form of dialogues, he still has impenetrable dark. So he's assuming that when they call him or say that he has impenetrable dark, they're referring to all senses of dialogues rather than just this specific form of dialogue or rhetorical situation. So he's not only assuming this, but he's also assuming that they mean they mean impenetrable rhetoric when they call him a rhetorical god, rather than just labeling him as a rhetorical god because he is superlative rhetoric in comparison to the rest of the community.
I see Sendings in the VC. Can I just tell him one thing? I love you, Sendings. Alright, then I'll finish my speech.
Okay. So basically, right? You're saying I'm presupposing that, or actually, I don't know if Jutsu. Do you want to respond?
I was actually waiting on Jutsu to respond. Actually.
Okay.
I mean, well, I got nothing else to say. I've been understood which I was arguing. I just like not as good as I do now. But again, that's all I really wanted to know. Cause,
right. All I'm saying is that I can't be presupposing if they're the ones who specified this. Presuppositions are formed.
My bad. I have one question. Oh, wait. Archie, did you even tell him about the wee porky stuff before
no
before anything?
Want to know something funny?
What?
You know that I actually specified, right? That people multiple times have said this, and he's multiple times ignored this and said, "Oh, well, you're still presupposing." That's why I kept arguing him earlier about how he's not understanding. He's not listening to what I'm saying.
Archie,
and
my son, you are slamming right? You're slamming, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, don't be son. Oh, I'm just talking to my son.
I don't know who you are.
You do. Archie, you still haven't given me the link to your mic.
Who are you?
Your father.
Who are you, and why is your mic so loud?
Your mic was louder. Your mic was louder at the time, so send me the link to your mic.
Who are you?
Okay, so Archi is.
Oh yeah.
Let's continue, man.
So anyways.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know who that dude was.
Yeah, he's just random.
But anyways, basically, right? I can't be. Wait. Because he's the one that interrupted me. I wasn't done. Multiple times, you keep saying I'm presupposing.
No! I'm unmuted. Wait. Shut up!
Now, basically, right? I can't be presupposing, right? If someone specified this multiple times, you've constantly been interrupting me. Literally. Even earlier when it came to the disadvantages, you've purposefully, I can't even say I can't even say this, right? That you've been purposefully doing it, because I can't read your mind, right? That would be a presupposition. But I'm saying you keep constantly presupposing this. You keep constantly ignoring what I'm saying and attacking something else.
Okay, so are you done?
Yeah.
Are you finished? Okay, so yeah, I don't think those ignored any part of your argument. So I think I've attacked the essential foundations of your argument. And those foundations are whether your interpretation corresponds with their interpretations. You said when you said that you specified something. What thing were you referring to?
Oh my god.
You could just say
this is literally another example. You're just not listening to me, bro.
No, you never specified.
You're just not listening. You just don't listen. I don't understand if you have a hearing problem or something.
Archimedes.
But if you're going to debate against me, you need to listen.
Archimedes.
I've said multiple times that the people. Hold on.
Go ahead.
I've said multiple times that the people, right, who said this, right, are the people who specified this. That they're referring to all senses. He's impenetrable in all senses. I'm referring to those people.
You never said that before. You just said they had impenetrable dark, or people said he's impenetrable.
I did say that.
You never said in all senses.
He did.
I did.
He didn't actually. It's on recording. He's recording anyway.
That's okay. Fine.
Yeah, so we can.
I've said this multiple times.
And do you agree that's you saying that they people say that they have
What are you talking about?
Dark? It's just your interpretation of them calling him Dark or God.
Bruh, I've literally said multiple times that we Porky and them, we're referring to all senses because that's what they specified. It isn't a presupposition if the specification was made. I'm not presupposing anything. I'm going based off what they said. I did mention that. I did.
Listen, even Jutsu asked you if you mentioned this before. You never mentioned the weak part.
And I said I did.
Bullshit. Yeah, just a while ago, like just a minute ago. That's the only time.
No. I literally specified this and specified what I meant. So you're going even earlier, I said by impenetrable rhetoric, it cannot be penetrated in any sense, right? I even specified that, and not only that, but now you're saying that they didn't say this, and that I'm presupposing they did. If I have no. If you're saying I'm presupposing, no. If you're saying that I'm presupposing, you're saying I'm assuming they said this. That's an assumption that you're making, that I'm assuming they said this.
Okay. Like,
so I feel, right, that this is getting circular. I feel that you're not listening to me. And I feel that it'd be best if we go to conclusions. Would you like to do that?
Sure. Yeah, okay, definitely.
You can give your conclusion first.
Well, you're the one who offered to go to conclusions.
Okay, sure. I'm saying, right, that if you're saying, okay, this is all I really have to say for conclusions. In the beginning, right, we were arguing in text. You guys can scroll up already some screenshots earlier. I was talking to Aristotle about whether, Seth has impenetrable rhetoric, right? And about how people who do say this, that he has impenetrable rhetoric in all instances, they're just blatantly wrong. Because multiple times, right, his rhetoric has been penetrated in a given instance of it being about noodles. Now, when I said this, he said that's a Spurgov, right, not a debate, way earlier. So then I convinced him, and he conceded on that point, that it was a Spurgov, or that a Spurgov can be a rhetorical situation and is a rhetorical situation, right? I convinced him of that, right? So then we go further.
Wait, one second.
Why are you interrupting me?
Shut up, bro.
Thank you. So I'm saying, right? He earlier said that it could be a rhetorical situation. So I said noodles won. Now, if that's the case, that means he won this rhetorical situation. Therefore, his rhetoric can be penetrated. Now, after that, he made this entire tangent and point about how rhetorical God doesn't necessarily mean that his rhetoric is impenetrable. So I said that regardless, right, we can even restate the word, right, and say, oh, well, it doesn't have to be impenetrable. Or no, not that. But it doesn't have to be a rhetorical God. But we can switch to any word. Any word. It doesn't even matter. Right? But all I'm saying is that his rhetoric is not impenetrable. And then, right, I even said this. Right? I even said to him that, hear me out. If you disagree with me, do you disagree that he has impenetrable rhetoric or not? And then he said to me, no, I don't disagree. I agree to your stance, right? But I'm just saying the basis of your stance is wrong. So then we argue, right, based off what people say. And I said to him that if people say, the people that I'm referring to, specified, right, that rhetorical situations and stuff, they're referring to everything, completely impenetrable. And then he went along and ignored me and said, well, it could be just, it could just be referring to a debate, right? He just constantly kept ignoring me and stuff. And therefore, I take that as circularity and a concession. That's what I'm saying. That's my conclusion. That's why I won. You can go, Paulo.
Okay. So, basically, I heard you said in your conclusion that I conceded a point, which I didn't. Basically asked me If a spurred off is a ridiculous situation, you didn't convince me to concede. I already admitted that this is a form of ridiculous situation. In fact, every conversation that we hold with each other involves some degree of dark. But I'm saying that using this specific ridiculous situation to supposedly not necessarily downplay, but prove that Nudis has supposedly a better dark or whatever than Seth, wouldn't be valid considering the circumstances Seth faced in that specific dialogue, which is perm abusing, you got kicked, muted, you lose speaking over him, so forth. Even though this involves some degree of dark, this isn't a proper foundation that we should use to analyze Seth's dark in general. When I say dark in general, I mean is formal debate type dark, right? You can't use a spurg off to prescribe Seth's rhetorical abilities in normative debates, right? With that being said, right, I given an example, the packing analogy, where it said if Seth was to face someone like Zai or more in a packing session, obviously, even though that packing session involves some degree of dark, right? And even if Zai and Morn were to be more persuasive, and they would be more persuasive than Seth because they're packers, Seth isn't a good packer, right? Even if they were to be more persuasive than Seth in that specific dialogue, that doesn't necessarily defeat whatever context or whatever possible context the other people or the supposed Seth goons mean when they call or when they say that Seth is a Redark god or has godly Redark, because we know, or not necessarily we know, we have to just remain agnostic, but there's this possibility of them just referring to the debate, the formal debate sense of Redark, rather than just every single sense of Redark. But overall, his premise is based off the idea that his interpretation of Redark God coincides with their interpretation of Redark God when they call Seth a Redark God. His interpretation of this terminology is that they mean that Seth has impenetrable or invincible Redark, right? Which doesn't have to be the case. They could just mean by Redark God that he is superlative Redark in comparison to the rest of the community. Right? I mean that he has the best Redark in the community or in this specific section of the community. This doesn't extrapolate or necessarily extrapolate to his interpretation. So he's left in this part where he has to prove why his interpretation of Redark God semantically correlates to their interpretation of Redark God when they mention this terminology. And there's also the fact that he's making another assumption, which is that when they say, or if they were to say that he is impenetrable Redark, which he didn't say from the beginning, right? He never said that they verbatim said he has been impenetrable Redark. What he did say was that they just call him a Redark God. But let's go under the assumption that they did in fact verbatim say that he's impenetrable Redark. You'd still be making the assumption that when they say he is impenetrable Redark, they're referring to it in all senses, rather than just the debating perspective, formal debating perspective of Redark. So these are two interpretations two assumptions that he can never justify, considering the fact that he can't truly tell what's within their intentions when they make these usage of these terminologies. He never justified this. He tried to switch it around, tried to switch the burden by saying that, oh, are you disagreeing with the fact that my interpretation doesn't correspond with their interpretation? I'm not explicitly disagreeing with his interpretation. I think his interpretation is pretty fair. I'm just saying that I ought to remain agnostic on whether his interpretation corresponds with their interpretation, because there's no true justification as to which interpretation they're utilizing when they mention this terminology. So I ought to remain agnostic until he presents some sort of solid foundation as to why his interpretation is the interpretation they're utilizing when they mention this term. He never justified this. I think that's pretty much it, to be honest. But so long as he doesn't justify this, then he can never actually disagree with them saying or them calling him a Redark God, because he can never tell what they really mean when they call him a Redark God. It's just based off his subjective interpretation, which he still has the burden to establish a semantical correlation between his interpretation and their interpretation, which he hasn't done thus far. And also, another thing before I conclude is that he added some things, like some analogies, and the fact that this specific person said so-and-so. He never said this at all early on in our debate or early on in the chat. He never mentioned any of this. He only mentioned this at the end when he found out that he was kind of trapped and he couldn't actually justify his interpretation of what they actually mean. So I don't even need to attack that either. And even then, I could just remain agnostic on that and ask him to prove such or prove that they actually did say that, which he can't do either. So like, yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it's like pretty easy.
The U.S.
You didn't think that, but like, I'm pretty sure it will.
Put that poll in.
How many times has interpretation been said?
I don't even know.
Wait, hold on. Now I'm confused, bruh, because okay, so Archimedes, you're saying that you're basing this interpretation on whatever you said off of people saying that Seth has godlike rhetoric, and yeah, he would still have this godlike rhetoric in all cases, right?
I'm just saying what's it called? Like people was saying like that apparently his rhetoric is like impenetrable in like all instances, and I disagree with that. That's what I'm saying.
That's different. That's different. Oh god, that's different from what was like being argued on during the debate. That's what I'm saying. This shit is confusing because there was one point in time where you guys were just arguing just outside of debating, and then another time where you guys are arguing in all cases of rhetoric.
Yeah, I'm just saying. This is what I was arguing. This is why I kept saying like he was misinterpreting me on. Like, if you finna say that, like, oh, I'm presupposing what they mean in the sense of they could mean just in a debate. What I was saying, right, is that regardless, I'm not presupposing that because I'm just saying that what they're saying, which is that his rhetoric is impenetrable in all cases and scenarios. That and just means.
And you were basing that off.
Yeah, they never said that verbatim.
Yeah.
But you do realize what you said when you was like bringing up the weed porky example, right?
What'd I say?
You didn't say that weed porky said this in all cases. You said that
all
he said this
exactly.
outside of debating.
No, I did say that.
No, you definitely said outside of debating. Like that's I remember that. You could look at the recording, but you definitely said outside of debating.
Nah, what I was saying is that like even outside debating. I said even outside of debating.
Well, that's just different from saying in all cases. It's not the same thing.
No, exactly, that's what I meant. That's like, where the he said specifically.
But how would you expect him to understand what he's saying?
I said that. Wait, hold on. I'm not done. I said, right, that even outside of debating, he thought that was the case. That's all I was saying.
Oh, my bad. You said that even outside of debating. Wait, okay. Even outside of debating, he still has godlike rhetoric.
Yeah.
But that could literally just mean anything. He could just be talking about having like a fucking seat at a cafe and like him like in a regular conversation. And I think what Apollo is saying that you're presupposing that when saying outside of debating, he means like in a sense of like packing or something. Because that's different from what like I'm saying. You guys were like arguing two different things at once, which is why the debate was fucking retarded.
Well, wait, I don't really understand that. What did you say?
Okay, so you said that Porky said that Seth has godlike rhetoric outside of debating, and there was one point in time where you guys were arguing that Seth has godlike rhetoric in all cases in all cases.
I never said it inside the debating.
No, I said outside. Well, that's what you said.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. The only reason I said even outside was because he thought I was talking about like just inside.
Well, did you say he has godlike rhetoric in all cases, or just godlike rhetoric?
I was saying that people were saying that like in all cases he has impenetrable rhetoric, which is what I meant by like godlike rhetoric.
I mean, I don't know. It just seems like it was just a confusing conversation. Like I don't.
Overall, it was. I just don't feel like he fully understood my point, and like he started like really like ratting at one point. Like it was weird.
Like, wait, am I saying like anything confusing? Because like, am I like the only?
No, you're not
confused with this.
Not really. I'm just zoning out, to be honest.
Because like, I'm pretty sure like you guys. There's one instance where you guys were like saying that just outside of debating, and now you're saying like in all cases. Like,
no, I never said just outside. At least that's not what I meant. I don't think I said that. Well, like I was saying, like he thought I was talking about like inside, and I was saying that like even like outside.
Well, I mean, outside of debating could just like I said, it can be like anything, right? Like we don't know like what that person actually means when they say that.
Well, I mean,
exactly.
I went over the noodle situation with them And they were saying, yeah, I don't think he got penetrated in that instant. And I explained to him what he did regardless. So we have context on what he meant. Like, I can ping him right now and bring him in.
I'm sorry. Wait, now you're saying that the person that you were talking to, you directly referenced the noodle situation?
Oh, I had like an hour-long conversation with him. That's why I
I'm
was still
sorry,
hating from
but
him.
I didn't. I'm sorry if anybody else heard that. I might have like stepped out because I did step out like sometime. I don't remember you saying that.
No, I definitely did. I can ping them right now. Hold up. Come in VC. I could do that real quick. But that's what I meant.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure I said that. I'm like 99.9% sure I said that.
Well, I mean, I guess it was a decent / weird, pointless debate. Like
I don't even understand what this debate was about fully. Like, he kept confusing me because he kept randomly agreeing and then disagreeing.
I just like I just don't see what the point of debating this is for. Like, it's just so stupid.
I don't know. Like, this nigga, like, he just like hopped in to the convo. This is like originally just like a text combo between me and Aristotle. Speaking of Aristotle, you can mic up now.
Oh, okay.
So Aristotle, you think you're better than me? Because now I'm finna actually debate you. So you said you was better than me, right?
Yeah, sure.
So you want to debate right now and test that?
Well, what do you have to debate? You have
Matter of
something
fact,
interesting to
you said
offer?
hold on. You said you're at theology. You said you're at theology, bear. That's cool. Guess what? You said you're a theology debater?
No, repeat yourself. Repeat yourself.
No, I said... hold on. You said you're a theology debater, right?
Theology, okay.
You be debating theology?
Yeah, sure.
Alright, you want to debate theology right now? You said you believe in God, right? You're like a Muslim?
Sure.
Alright, bro. I got you. I'm an agnostic atheist. You can go ahead and argue.
Okay.
Do you mind if I record this, bro?
Wait, Archimedes, could you send me the recording of our debates in DMs, please?
I have to convert it.
Later on.
Hold on.
Okay.
So, Aristotle, you said, right? You said you're a theist? You're a theist?
I'm a theist. I'm gonna take the theist side. Sure.
Okay. You mind if I... Yeah, I'm finna real quick get some people in here. I'm
gonna make it easy for you. Yeah. Okay. Working at times. Let's just do it in a VC, okay?
Sure. So, basically, you can start off with your premise.
Did you just start?
Yeah, you can start off with your premise.
Can you repeat?
Oh, I said you can start off with your premise.
Did you start the recording?
Yeah.
Okay. So, which ways? Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna. Do you know the Kalam cosmological argument?
You can go ahead and explain.
That's literally the worst argument you could possibly use.
Tensei.